This is the title decider for the 420Rs, and it's all still to play for, with 2 races remaining around the always entertaining Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. After the drop scores are applied, this is how it looks. John Byrne arrives here as the points leader, just 10 points clear though of David Henderson in second, with Aaron Head, Tim Dickens and Henry Heaton all mathematically still in contention. For John Byrne, the weekend has started perfectly. He will be on pole position for our first race, but having had 2 non-finishes this year, he cannot afford another one. It could be the end of his championship hopes. For David Henderson, well, he's also had a non-finish earlier on this season, with his other drop score being a 9-pointer. He starts third on the grid and will be keen to challenge Byrne as soon as possible in the race. Well, that first race of 2 this weekend about to get underway. John Byrne on pole position with Alex Querbly alongside him. Keep an eye on the 5 car of Henderson though. Byrne's nearest rival starts from the inside of row number 2. Lights out then, away we go. Good start made by both of the front row men. John Byrne on the left, Querbly on the right, and Henderson trying to fend everybody off into Paddock Hill Bend, which he does so successfully. Lock up there for the blue number 10 car of Henry Heaton. He realistically needs to win this race to have any chance of taking the championship fight down to the final race. He's having to do it from some way down the order. Started 6th, and we're on board with the number 10 car now as it gets very congested out of Druids Corner. Aaron Head out wide. Justin Armstrong, I think, has lost a rear wing already. That hopefully won't affect his performance, but it's been a lively start to the race in the midfield. And the midfield battle is not something that Henry Heaton ideally wanted to be dealing with in this race. On board with John Byrne then, who's dropped behind Querbly for the race lead, but he dives back up the inside into clearways, wasting no time in getting out in front. We've seen previously in this season that once John Byrne gets into the race lead, he can be difficult to catch. Certainly Querbly and the rest will be keen to stay with him if they can. Back with Heaton then across the line, end of the opening lap, and he has a lot of overtaking to do here to get himself into contention, even for a top 5 finish in the race realistically. Losing a position there further back, the number 73 car, that was Doug Thane, who started from the back of the grid and has actually already gained a few places on the opening lap. Through Druids Corner then, Heaton's first target will be Matt Higginson, the green car, but there is your leading quintet of cars then, with John Byrne leading the way. Richard Ainscough is through into second place now, and David Henderson, crucially, is starting to regain some ground that he's clearly lost on the opening lap or so. He's found a way ahead of Alex Querbly now, who in fact is struggling a little here. He's a little bit further down the order than we anticipated for the man who led halfway around the opening lap. Henry Heaton sideways as he tries to get up the inside of the disc lock car of Matt Higginson. That slow exit from clearways will do him no favours at all, but he's back in the slipstream now, across the start-finish line into Paddock Hill Bend. There is no way through at the moment. Meanwhile, David Henderson there, car number 5, second in the points, about to lose 3rd place in the race very nearly there, though, to Alex Querbly, as Henry Heaton now is up the inside of Matt Higginson and goes through at Druids Corner, so that's 1 place gained, but that is nowhere near enough at this stage to keep Heaton in the title race, so it is looking more and more like becoming a 2-horse race now between Byrne and Henderson. There is Byrne leading the way, but it's not David Henderson who is his nearest rival in this race at the moment. That is still Richard Ainscough in second position. Heaton comes through the blue number 10 car then, who has got more cars to try and overtake now. Justin Armstrong appears to be his next rival to try and find a way past. And we can pick out Justin Armstrong's car pretty easily now because it's the new lightweight Caterham 420R, having shed that real rear wheel arch on the opening lap of the race. Querbly there has another go around the outside of David Henderson, who at the moment is struggling to go with the leading 2. Now, if John Byrne wins the race and Henderson is anywhere inside the top 10, then that will keep him in contention, and that is good news for Henderson, because John Byrne, who was in the race lead, makes a bit of a mess of Druids, runs out wide, and Richard Ainscough goes back through into the lead of the race. Ainscough, unlike most of the drivers around him actually, is not a title contender. He's just looking for race victories, but winning a race against John Byrne is never easy. Byrne is straight back up the inside at Surtees Corner and reclaims the lead that he lost for all of 2 corners, and he really would quite like to escape here if at all possible. That little exchange did not seem to lose them too much time to the cars behind, so those 2 still have a bit of breathing room over this big pack of cars busy squabbling behind them. Back on board then with Henry Heaton, Justin Armstrong in front of us, with Aaron Head in front of him, and right behind still Matt Higginson. So that's this little 4-car fight that's going on for 6th position at the moment. Now this is Henry Heaton's start, and it wasn't textbook, was it? But Richard Ainscough was off like a rocket from the inside of row number 3. That's why he's already up there contending for the race lead. And then Heaton with a big lock-up actually made a bit of contact there, I think, with the back of Aaron Head's car. And Matt Higginson comes through on the inside line. So Unfortunately for Heaton, that's left him with rather an uphill struggle now for the rest of the race. The start is important in Caterham racing, where you can overtake and make progress, but a good start makes that a lot easier, of course. Right then, on board again with Heaton, who's got Will Smith in front of him. Justin Armstrong, though, is the man that's really gaining ground here because he's ahead of Smith now as well, but then runs a bit wide through Graham Hill Bend. Off onto the grass goes Armstrong, and in fact, I think something's broken because the number 23 car is not for picking back up speed, and Justin has to pull into the back entry there to the pit lane. So, unfortunately, Justin Armstrong is, by the looks of it, our first retirement. And that gains a few significant drivers, extra positions here. Will Smith and Henry Heaton both go through. Heaton in particular needs the places, because he needs the points for those places. It's then the fight for second place now. Aaron Head round the outside of David Henderson. John Byrne, though, has done a John Byrne, hasn't he? He's escaped out in front. He thought that this might happen as the drivers behind started squabbling amongst each other. John Byrne has been able to pull clear of them all, but any one of these drivers could still get themselves onto the second step of the podium. There is Byrne, already halfway down the back straight. The number 3 car in beautiful isolation. No one in sight, either in front or behind. Speaking of behind, this is a battle that's going on a bit further down the order now. The number 24 car is Chris Aubrey there, the grey and yellow car, trying to go around the outside of the pink and blue of Alex Jordan. This is for 13th place at the moment, and Alex Jordan just about fends him off as they go out of Druids down into that tricky left-hander, Graham Hill Bend. Byrne then up the hill into Druids. We're getting into the closing stages of this race now. And John Byrne, if he wins the race, will get 25 nice, juicy championship points. It's really all about where Henderson ends up, though. As long as David is somewhere in the top 10, then he should be able to take the fight down to the final race. Of course, the further up the top 10 he is, the smaller the deficit will be to John Byrne going into that championship decider. So Henderson, the number 5 car, is the man who really has the pressure on his shoulders now. Doing a good job at the moment. He heads this enormous queue of cars, all squabbling over P2 at the moment. As they turn into this flat-out left-hander at Surtees. It's just about flat-out in these cars. They've got enough grip, but they're going awfully quickly through that part of the circuit. Aaron Head in third position then, the man who wants to try and nick this second position away from Henderson, because remember that Head is third in the championship. He is a further 14 points behind Henderson at this stage though, so even if you can't win the title, you'd like to beat Henderson if you can to the runners-up spot. Getting past him now would be a good way to do that. That with the Aubrey and Jordan scrap that's still raging on further back, but this battle is really raging on now. William Smith has come through into second position. Aaron Head down to third, Quirtley fourth, and then Ainscough in fifth position with Tim Dickens, the noseless Tim Dickens, at the back of the queue, so he's had some front-end contact as well. I noticed there are a couple of cars in this group that are sporting war wounds from earlier contact. Henry Heaton, meanwhile, what's he been getting up to? He runs out onto the gravel coming through Clearways and Clark Curve. Very lucky not to spin the car there, but he loses positions to Higginson and to Tim Dickens. And sadly for Henry Heaton, I think he's waving goodbye now to his championship hopes. Back with the second place group, then on to the final lap of the race now. Henderson second, Smith third, Head in fourth position, which might just be enough to keep him mathematically in contention. Remember that John Byrne has used up his 2 drop scores, so as long as you're within 25 or 26 points of him going into the last race, then in theory you could still beat him, but that is going to take some doing, because John Byrne, despite having to scrap it out with Richard Ainscough in the early stages, is on fine form this weekend and is heading for yet another victory. He's had more wins this year than any other driver. That is why he's the championship leader, and now he is just 1 race away from the championship. A brilliant race win there for David Henderson. It's going to be a winning margin of well over 10 seconds back to the rest of the pack behind. But what order will they finish in? David Henderson will come through in second place by the looks of it, with William Smith in third and Aaron Head in fourth position. 15 seconds is the eventual margin of victory. A dominant performance from John Byrne. Well, here is confirmation of the result then. Byrne from Henderson from Smith, your podium finishers. Aaron Head fourth and Alex Quirtley fifth. But it's John Byrne's championship to lose now with 1 race to go.
A nice win there was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Taking a little bit of pressure off the next race now.
If I hadn't dropped behind my teammates at the start, I think I would have been with him, probably stayed with him, but overtaking him would have been a different matter. But then when the gap appeared and I noticed slipstream, I had pressure from Aaron. That was 25 minutes of hell.
So it all goes down to the final race of the season, with John Byrne putting 1 hand on the championship trophy. However, his second race did not go to plan from the word go. In greasy conditions, he made an awful start from pole position, and David Henderson took a lead that he would hold on to the flag. From then on, the big story was the fight back from John Byrne. He fell right to the very back of the pack into the first corner and needed to get towards the top 10 to clinch the title. He started to make progress, but along the way came across Chris Bates, who he elbowed off onto the grass. The 45 car would eventually rejoin and finish down in 16th place. Then John Byrne came up against Matt Higginson, went to the outside into Graham Hill Bend and got onto the grass. For a horrifying moment, he was headed for the barriers, just managed to regain control and get back on the road. Aaron Head was third in the points going into the final race. He survived this gravelly moment to finish second in the race, but John Byrne came through with a 5th place finish from the very back at turn 1 to claim the 2019 championship.
That was probably one of the worst drives I've done, but I got the job done in the end. I used a few little revs on the start to try and get a bit of traction, and it just bogged down. I stalled it, and the car wouldn't restart, so I went back to the back of the grid. I started to come through slightly, and then overtaking my teammate, I run wide on the like a wet patch, straight up into the grass, back off again, and then slowly work my way back up again. And yeah, just so pleased it's over.
Well, a thrilling championship decider then that sees John Byrne wrap it up in the final race of the season. 9 points his eventual winning margin over Henderson, whilst Aaron Head secures third. Well, it's been a fantastic 2019 championship, a worthy champion in John Byrne, and some fantastic racing along the way.